So as we push into January of 1917, some things changed a little bit. The only real change that I can think of offhand is the Germans no longer have the same supply limitation. They don't have to attack anymore, essentially. Eventually they may have to, but their limit is now no longer 200, but 400 supply points. Now, Great Britain's is going to go up as well to 200, but they've not had that issue. They've been worried more about their manpower accumulating too much and have actually thrown quite a bit of away. France is still at their 150. It's not until 1918 that they go up to 275, which allows you to really assemble huge amounts of supply to launch a continuing sustained attack. The 400 is especially tremendous. But more importantly, perhaps, it means I don't have to fight. Now, the French may wish to, and in fact they have a desire to, and a requirement to. They're at 150 right now. They're at their limit, which means sometime in January they're going to launch an attack. It may be a several-day affair. The Germans aren't withdrawing any more troops during this month, it looks like. They're just gaining troops. Yet, no real opportunity is available right now, but I think the French should probably launch an attack shortly based on that factor. And the English should probably launch their attack, perhaps in conjunction or at least in some sort of coordination to take advantage of it. They have to do one anyway just to kill off more of their troops so that they can get more replacements again. So one of the problems is the French are getting, serious about launching an attack. They start building up forces in the general area so that they can move into the attack. Well, that telegraphs the move. Last turn, it wasn't obvious enough. But now they've shifted up, and the Germans had a couple of reinforcements, so they dropped reinforcements into the salient that the French were obviously building up for an attack for. There's no easy surprise with the French. In fact, the English don't have a terribly easy chance at it either, but some of their units have a movement allowance of 5, as do most of the German units. The Germans have this tremendous advantage. They can rail troops right up to the front, jump off, jump into the front, and attack immediately. So you never know where the Germans can hit. But they don't really get to attack much at this point in the game. Or they don't necessarily desire to. So the French are going to have to launch an attack, but they don't necessarily want to attack where they just landed. They're going to look for an opportunity, we'll see. Well, the French felt forced to find a new place because they cannot build up a reserve like they had without alerting the Germans. And they found one. There were only 11 strength points here next to Luxembourg. Not necessarily the best location in the world. The terrain gives an additional penalty. But they did 8 hits to 5. By massing what they had in that salient and sliding things over a little bit. One of the bigger problems they had to do was they had to shift one of their headquarters over to command this. Because it's winter, there's only a 3 movement point chain, but they can get there from that. They may have difficulty reaching much further. This is not an attack that was going to succeed in making some great breakthrough because their supply net is really kind of at its limit at this point. They can keep moving the headquarters or moving new headquarters into place to bring additional support in, but it would be tough to make a breakthrough, say, into this kind of region up here. But this was the best they could find without giving too much alert, and it still didn't do anything, and now the Germans have the opportunity to fill in the gap here. Is there a guarantee that this is where the fight is? No, there isn't. There's still a significant force down in this salient up here, and there's quite a bit built up over here. And as we've very often seen throughout the game, when you attract attention to one segment of the front, defenses go into that. It may no longer be the best place to hit. And, well, a shift to this hex was made. Not good attack. The French took 7 to the Germans 9. There's better defensive terrain. There's a woods in here, but also the die rolls came out poorly. But, you know, essentially shifting the entire attack to a nearby front, a segment of the front, usually isn't hard because you've got a lot of forces kind of milling around ready to pump into that other area that you can just slam into something near it. When you have a salient like this where you're bulging out, you can just redirect your attack without any real difficulty. That feels a little false to me. That was done late in the war, more by the Germans than anyone else, I believe. But it was done when there was almost a capability to attack all along the front when desired. So it doesn't feel like the momentum of those attacks works out quite the same way. The Germans have the ability to be flexible enough to shift their troops. Now maybe if you evened everything out it wouldn't matter. The French could still, there would be no reason for an attack not to be on that one hex that was chosen anyhow. But there's a little bit of clumsiness to how much you can move around. So you can't spread out completely, and you end up with some weak spots. It's just a matter of human nature to make those kind of errors, not to proportionally allocate everything exactly right or whatever. Some damn Germans that I forgot to move into place for replacement points. I'm having a lot of trouble playing this, to tell you the truth, at this point. Alright. Okay, so the French have given up on their assault. They've spent enough supply on it that they can stop a week. You know, these 2-month offensives or whatever, they're not going to happen in the early part of the war. A week attack? Yeah, that happens. And then another one a little later, and another one a little later. None of the grand offensives are going to happen. And the supplies just aren't sufficient to maintain them even. You could go maybe a month. And that's, I believe, historical. But what it means is, if you don't desire to do them, an offensive, you don't have to. And the game kind of forces you to do offensives, kind of against your will. So now the Brits are having to do one, and they're going to launch one along here. But I've opened up with an attack from this hex, and now I'm going to pull a tank in as well, which I'll try to get into the stack there. But I got to roll. On a 1 or a 2, it loses a strength point. Ooh. And then what the tank's going to do, and it does not, what the tank's going to do is it's going to count, in addition to losses, for forcing the Germans to retreat. Of course, I think it has to take casualties early or something. I have no idea. I have to take a look at that. They may advance. I don't know if there's any further. They take losses in addition to the normal losses counted for the counterattack. And I'll have to read that up and see how that works. I have explained it before when I explained the rules, but I haven't used one. The tank losses are dependent on 3 CRT attack, counterattack, number of attacking units, and number of attacking divisions. Number of battalions divided by number of attacking divisions. Yeah, okay, whatever. So they're going to have some additional number of losses here. Let's see, number of attacking battalions. Now I have to remember my brigades and battalions thing here. And X is the bigger kind, right? Yeah, I have trouble with this. I'm not, you know, a modern type of guy. So I always have trouble remembering these. So let's see, battalions are the little guys. So that's going to count as what? 3? Yeah, 3 battalions because it's a brigade. So what happens? I don't know. They're divided by the number of attacking divisions multiplied by the CRT counterattack loss. I don't understand that. Like, I'm going to have to try to parse that. Number of attacking tank battalions, that'll be 3, divided by number of attacking divisions. Well, that's like 18. So 3 divided by 18 is 0.167 approximately. And that'll be multiplied by the total losses. So there's going to be some additional slight loss of tanks. I don't know if they count towards demoralization. I have to look that up. I doubt that it's specified anywhere, so probably the strength points just count But yeah, I have no idea. So of course, in order to find the answer to that, we flip through the scenario book again. But here it kind of makes sense. In terms of tanks, it shouldn't, you know, I should never have to leave a couple of pages on this. But no, there's buried rules, Hindenburg line, stuff like that that's definitely scenario based. But then there's also things like tanks that should be in so many different game modules of this thing. But yeah, I got to flip through here and find myself this thing and see whether or not tanks cost any demoralization points. And it looks like they're free. So, tanks don't cost. Cool. You can lose them at will. Alright. Right now what I've got for damage factors is 118 to 58. The Allies have 118. Now the Brits would have a lot more, but they had no supplies left. They had 1 point of supply to spend after the artillery attack. Well, after the initial attack in the artillery. They supplied this first mobile attack because it would be pointless unsupplied. It would do almost nothing. But now with the tanks thrown in, that's 8 extra strength points that don't cost any supply as far as I can tell. I'm not sure. Because, you know what, I gotta look up supplies, but it won't be in there because only infantry and artillery and cavalry are handled in there. You'd think tanks would use supply, so let's go back to the tanks rules and see what the hell they say. And they are somewhere in here, who knows where. Here they are, 104. The numbers are all weird in here because it's some sort of cut and paste job from the original Schlieffen plan rules or something. I don't know. These only go up to 85, but then we've got little bits stuck in here and there to fit. These go up to 48 and then jump to 85, and then we got other numbers here, and it is really a poorly put together rule set in terms of a lot of things that make rules easier to cope with, right? Okay, so then I'm going to spend 15 minutes trying to figure out tanks, and I'll probably get it right the first time, and then not wanting to ever do it again, get it wrong every other time because I don't want to look it up. That's what happened to me with, goddamn, I don't even remember what the hell it was. But there was something in this game, yeah, the artillery surrounding or something like that. Something along those lines. Oh no, urbans, what their modifiers were. That I just, you know, this game puts you in such a mood to not put any effort because you're putting so much damn effort into shifting units around, trying to figure out what comes in when, that you don't want to think about it, you don't want to play it, you don't want to do a damn thing with it. So anyway, my supply numbers were a little wrong because, yeah, you do have to supply the tanks like regular units, which means they ate up 2 supply. I used the infantry supply, that's 3.5 strength points, rounded up to 4 that had to come off. And then I had to use an artillery supply, which I think was 2 strength points, but I can't tell anymore. All right. And you can see how pleasing it is to play this thing. So we're at 120 to 58, I think, and I get to roll some dice. Modifiers all the same, nothing changes there. The only thing that changes is there's 8 additional losses counted, I guess, against the defender in terms of just determining retreat. If I can go over that now, weakened stack, weakened because of the first attack, I can get a breakthrough. And not a real breakthrough because the line will just get shoved back to here. It's not like the Brits can follow up with a lack of supply here. So in the end, it was ineffective. The .167 was multiplied by 10 losses, so it ended up killing 2 tank units here, in addition to 10 units of Brits in exchange for 7 Germans. Now, the 7 Germans went up to 15 Germans, but still, because of the tanks there, that was 8 extra strength points, but still, we had just a little bit more left over. So it didn't break. The Brits got bad die rolls. They would have gotten the hex on reasonable die rolls. But, and I'm lucky on that because I didn't calculate that out. I just kind of shot from the hip because, you know, again, like I said, when you're spending so much effort on mechanically trying to handle crap in a game, and it just continues that way, and look things up and everything, and page through books that are poorly organized, you know, how much time do you have for strategy? How much time do you have to really be thinking about the game and playing? In my case, none. I spend all my time trying to shuffle troops and screwing up there too, because, you know, I haven't done anything with my French yet. They've got to go. They should have gone already, but I cannot segment my brain enough and then come back and remember what the hell I was doing. So I end up kind of instead segmenting the board and cheating to move things. And, you know, this is one reason I don't like playing opposed, is I can't do that. I have to play the entire board at once, just like anybody else would with the game. I've got to play by the rules. I don't like to play by the rules. I like to fudge things, make it a little easier on myself. Well, that puts us to the end of January. Some shifting of troops. We still got those tanks on the top up here. I can't do anything with them, because moving them, they might get damaged. And, you know, I don't want to move them, even though they're cluttering up my view of the board, because that would be a bad move. But yeah, they make things less palatable than they were. Overall, I don't know. I mean, I was a hair's breadth away from quitting, and I probably should for my own sanity. You know, I could start something fun tomorrow. But something in me doesn't allow it. And, well, I'm going to have to reposition these engineers. They're not where I want them. If I could build this entire line, it would be great. But I want to build this hex, and I think this hex. And I think that means I only have like 3 hexes left, which I don't know if that's going to be these 3, which seems more appealing or whatever. Anyway, I'm loading this up, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm about halfway through at this point, and I'm all out of patience with this game. Alright, up it goes.